Welcome to Super Excel training and coaching. My name is Steve Huang. In this channel, I help you to solve your real-life Excel challenges, problems, difficulties. If you encounter any Excel challenges, you're welcome to contact me using the link in the description under this video. Within my available time, I will try my best to help you. In this video, I'm going to show you how I helped Jennifer to automate her inventory obsolescence calculation. Jennifer works in the supply chain field. Recently, I coached her to help her to solve the problem with Excel to avoid any manual adjustment. We can have everything done in formula automatically without for her to check those results manually to deal with the exception and change the formula for certain cells. This is a file Jennifer shared with me. We have two sheets over here. One is output, one is input. So her original data is basically the column O to column V. This is data exported from her system, which shows for those different items, we have so much inventory on hand. We'll also know when those inventory will be expired. For the same item, you may see we have lots of records that may belong to different lots or different bin number. And Jennifer wants to know every month, at the end of the month, how many units of inventory for each of the product will be short dated. Now, what does she mean when she used the word short dated? Let me explain. Each lot or each bin of inventory has an expiration date. This expiration date is for the end consumer. That means when that date has passed, the end consumer cannot use this product anymore. But now, Jennifer's company, they're not selling to the end consumer directly. They sell to the next level customer in the supply chain, could be a distributor or could be a retailer. So for their customer, which are the retailer or distributors, they require the inventory has at least 1 year of shelf life. Because if you have only, say, 3 months of shelf life, and then the retailer buy from them, they only have 3 months to sell the product, which is way too short. So they require at least 1 year or 12 months of shelf life. So for Jennifer, she needs to know in the future, 12 months, and also from 12 months and beyond, how many units of inventory will be short dated. So short dated for her means when the inventory has less than 12 months of shelf life. When inventory has less than 12 months of shelf life, then this company, they cannot ship to their customer anymore. So the final output is basically those two columns in the output sheet over here. We have those individual product number over here. We want to know how many units of inventory will be short dated in the first 12 months. And then column M, we want to know how many units of inventory will be short dated within 30 months and beyond. So that's the ultimate objective of her inventory obsolescence calculation. And to do this, she created 2 blocks of 24-month column to assist her to get the final result. So that's something we have to think about. Is it necessary to create the 2 blocks to calculate the data to get those final 2 columns of results? It may not be necessary. That's something I will address later. But now for this video, let's look at what Jennifer's challenge was. So in the first block over here with the 24 months, Jennifer has already done formula to calculate to show how many units of inventory will be short dated based on that expiration date. This block will not consider how much their company is going to ship to their customer. We'll just look at this based on the inventory expiration date. and we deduct 12 months, then we show how many months they have available to ship to the customers. So for this amount over here, 3149, that means they have 3,149 units will be short dated in 8 months. In the first 8 months, it's okay to ship them to the customers, but after 8 months, you cannot ship that to the customer anymore because you would have less than 12 months of shelf life, then your customer wouldn't want them anymore. So she has done like some F function to pull the data from the input sheet over here based on many other steps she has done over here, which is not my focus for this video. So I don't plan to talk about how she did that. Based on she has already come up with those are the units of inventory that will be short dated in those months. And then she had her second block of those 24 months, but this time she wants to calculate considering how many units they can ship to the customer, then in those months, how many units of inventory will be short dated. So the first block is not considering how many units they will ship to the customers. It's just based on the expiration date minus 12 months, and then to say in those months we will have so many units to be short dated, which means after that you cannot ship to the customer anymore. And then in the second block over here, she wants to calculate, consider how many units they will ship to the customer, and then after those shipments to the customer in those months, how many units will be short dated. So like those number over here means this 349 units cannot be shipped to the customer anymore because that will be short dated. After the 8th month, it would have shelf life less than 12 months. Now her challenge is in the second block. Let's look at her formula over here. Let me make this a little bit bigger, make it easier for you to see the formula. So there are two improvements I made over here. One is about the formula itself, while the other one is to address her challenges. So her formula over here is trying to show at the end of first month, how many units of that first item inventory will be short dated. So from the first block, we know in the first month, there's no inventory will be short dated. The expiration date is far in the future. So for the first item, the first month that we have inventory short dated will be in the 60 month. There are 623 units would be short dated if we don't ship anything out during that time. So for the first month, it's 0, but for that 16th month, we would have 623 would be short dated if we did not ship to our customer within 60 months. So her formula is to look at, so let's review this. If S9 equal to 0, then give me 0. What's S9? S9 is the amount of inventory in that corresponding month, which is the first month, that would be short dated. If S9 is 0, we'll say 0. Apparently, if there was no inventory to be short dated in that month, regardless you need to ship out anything or not, you would not have anything to be short dated. And then she did another if nested inside, which is to round up this calculation to 0 decimals. If that calculation give us a number that's less than 0, then she says give me 0. Otherwise, to return that round up number. So what is that round up number? She's using S9. Again, that's the first month inventory would be short dated minus G9 times 88. 88, which is 1, represents this first month, and G9, let's go there. G9 is this over here, which is the forecast shipment per month. So we use this G9 times that 1, that will tell you in that first month how many units will be shipped out. Basically, we look at, given we have so many inventory, we are going to ship this much out. So starting with that inventory, if we ship this out, how much we can have left? If we have left over, then that amount will be short dated. We cannot ship that to customer anymore. If that gave me a negative number, that means all that inventory will be shipped out. There'll be no short dated amount after that first month of shipment. When that number is less than 0, just return 0. Otherwise, that means when this number is a positive number, then we do have that amount to be left over, cannot ship to the customer anymore. That will be the short dated amount. So we'll return that number and round this up to having 0 decimals. So that's what her formula is over here. And all the other week, this formula is similar. It's just using different week number and different weeks inventory to compare and calculate. Now, first, I want to improve this formula because we don't necessarily need to use those 2 if functions. And we don't even need to use if function at all in this case. So this saying when that inventory to be shorted in that month is 0, then give me 0. Actually, this step is not necessary. If that inventory is 0, so we use that 0 minus that shipment within those months, that for sure will give you a negative number. When that's a negative number, we will return 0. So this logic is already considered in this step over here. It's not necessary to do that. So my first step is remove the first layer of this if. It's redundant. Let me also remove a bracket at the end. Let me enter that so I don't lose that. Now let's look at this part. This saying when that inventory minus the shipment is less than 0, then give me 0. Otherwise, give me that number. So when inventory is not enough to fulfill all the shipment, that means all the inventory will be used to ship them out. Then you would have nothing left, then we won't return 0. So we don't have any leftover inventory that will be short dated. All of them will be used. When this is negative, just give me 0. When it's not negative, that means you have more inventory than what you needed within those months. And then you will have that leftover portion, which will be short dated in that month, which you want to show, which that result won't return by this if function. So the logic here is all fine, but we don't necessarily need to do this with an if function. Basically, there are 3 scenarios. When that difference is a positive number, we want to return that number. When the difference is 0, we want to return 0. When the difference is negative, we want to return 0 too. So with that 3 scenario, we can do a max function to accomplish the same objective. So now I'm going to change the formula to this max function. We still want to do the roundup. So max function, and we don't need the second roundup portion. So we're still doing that difference, like the inventory minus the shipment units within that month, rounding up to 0 decimal. So I don't need this less than 0 over here anymore. That's part of the if from original formula. So we say max function will have 2 numbers over here. One number is that difference between inventory and shipment. Or that number is 0. So when that difference, which is that roundup function, is positive, for sure this number will be greater than 0. Then the max function will return the biggest number within those 2 numbers. For sure will be this roundup result because that's bigger than 0. And if this roundup function give me 0, then both are 0. The max function will still give you 0. If this roundup function give you a negative number, and then out of the 2, for sure the 0 will be the bigger number, then the max function will return as 0. So you see, when you have this being negative, you are going to get 0. When this is 0, you still get 0. When this is positive, you get a number. So this will accomplish the same objective as what we had here originally in that if function. This is much shorter. So that function we are going to do. Let me enter this. So just to prove the point, this will be giving us the same result as before. In this first record, actually they're all 0. Now let me look at maybe this third record will have 2950 in the 10th month. So if I copy this formula to all of the 3 rows, Control V to paste, you will see for the third record in that 10th month, we still have 2950 units to be short dated. So this is the same for this third item. For the third item, we have monthly shipping forecast being 15.33 units. And in the 10th month, we would have 3,103 units of inventory to be short dated. After this month, they will be short dated. You cannot ship them to the customer anymore. And then here, our formula is taking that 3,103 units compared to that 10 month, multiply the monthly forecast. So we use the inventory, subtract how much we can ship out. That will tell us how much we have left over. If that leftover number is a positive number, that number will be returned. If it's a negative, the 0 will be returned. Here we're getting 2,950. That means those 2,950 units of inventory will be short dated, because after 10th month, those inventory cannot be used anymore because they have less than 12 months of shelf life. And for any other month, this formula will be all fine if this product has only 1 month having inventory to be short dated within that time frame. Like this one will have only this 1 month having inventory to be short dated. And now we have exceptions. Let's look at the next item, this item 456. So if you look at from month 1 to month 24, in month 8, we have 3,149 units will be short dated. And then in month 19, we would have another 11,007 units to be outdated. So look at our formula to see how our formula does. For the month 8, our formula is saying, oh, I haven't changed the formula over there yet. Let me just copy that formula to over here. So that gives us same result, but it's now our shorter formula. We're using that inventory, which is Z12, which is at 3,149 units. We use that minus G12, which is that monthly forecast, times 8. This will give me in the 8th month how many units will be shipped. So that inventory minus how many will ship, that will tell us how much we have left over. When that number is positive, that number will be returned. When that number is negative, we'll get 0. Here we're getting 349 because that's the amount will be left over. We cannot ship anymore because that would have less than 12 months of shelf life. So that's the short dated amount. So the formula over here is all fine. Now, when we come to the next month having short dated inventory, the formula would have a problem. If we go to the right, here, this is what Jennifer did initially, because there was issue with that original formula. She had to make manual adjustment. So she had to make some adjustment on the formula for them to get the right result. Now let's just copy that formula over here. So if I copy this formula from the first month all the way to 24th month, just remember this number should be 7157. If I copy that formula over here, Control V to paste, that would not give us that 7157. Instead, it gave me 4357. That's not correct result. Why? Because our formula here is looking at the inventory will be short dated in the 19th month, AK12, which is over here, 11,007 units. We use that inventory to subtract the G12, which is that monthly forecast, times 19, times the 19 months. So the G12 is the monthly forecast of 350 and times this 19 months. That's how much we will ship in 19 months. Then we'll compare the two to see if we have anything left over. We knew from that that month 8, we have already shipped many units. We still have some left over. So we're not using that month 19, that equal 12 inventory, to fulfill all those 19 months of shipment. So this calculation is not right. That's why Jennifer had to make some manual adjustment in that formula. So if I undo over here, her original calculation after her adjustment should be this 7157. Now she has another exception. Let's look at the item below over here. This item 567, we have inventory in the month 12 that will be short dated, and in the month 20 will be short dated. So we'll have 2 months have inventory will be short dated. And this time the issue will be a little bit different from previous one. Previous one is that we have some inventory will be short dated, will not be used. So that original format will not be right. But this time it's actually, we have something less. So we are looking at this item 567. They have inventory in the month 12 will be short dated, and in the month 20 will be short dated. So if I copy the formula from what I did before and paste down over here, now just remember this number should be 3909. If I paste over here with that formula we did before, now I'm not getting that 3909, I'm getting A3 because I have problem with the formula. My formula only consider this AL with that 20 months times the monthly forecast. So AL is that inventory would be short dated in the month of 20. But we have some other inventory will be short in the month of 12. That should be considered, but that formula did not consider that. And that's why she needed to make some adjustment. But this time it's a little bit different from previous one. So let me show you. In the month 12, she would have 3,826 units to be short dated if we don't ship anything out. This is how many they will ship out. So we use this 12 months times the monthly shipment, which is 350. So she would ship out 4,200 units in the end of 12 months. But here she has 3,826 units will be short dated. So that means those will be used because we're going to use 4,200. Not only we use all of that, we have to use some inventory from here, from this 7,083 to fulfill the shipment in the month 12, because we're going to ship out 4,200 units. So this will be a lot of adjustment Jennifer had to make in her original formula over here. Actually, let me undo. So you will see she, oh, let me undo one more time. Undo one more time. Yeah, so she will have to do some manual adjustment over here. So that is her challenge. She had a formula over here to do the calculation. The formula is fine when there's only 1 month having inventory will be short dated. But when there's more than 1 month within that time frame having inventory to be short dated, the formula will be wrong. So let's look at this, how we address this. Let's use let's copy this formula down over here to say how should we improve this formula. We know this is not right result because it's considered only this one single month inventory in week 19, which is the AK12, which is 11,007 units. But we know before that, there are another 3,149 units inventory that will be used in the first 8 months. Or may have some left over, or maybe there's not enough. So that means when we do this calculation to see at this time if we have an inventory left over, we shall not use only the inventory will be short dated in the 19th month. We should use all the inventory in the first 19 months. We'll look at all the inventory to see, to compare to in the 19th month, how many units will be shipped. Then that will tell us how many units will be left over. So now I'm going to change this formula to change that one single cell, that one single month inventory to the inventory of all the previous month. So I will do a sum function to sum the inventory from this first month all the way to the 19th month, including that 3149 and 1107, and then closing bracket. You can still see my formula from here, but it's a little bit small. But that's the sum function I'm doing over here. I'm using all the inventory, available inventory, then compared to how many units will be shipped. So let me enter. My formula over here is using all those available inventory from week 1, week 19, compared to how many we're going to ship, which is using that G12, which is the monthly forecast, times 19 months, that give you how many will be shipped. Now, you notice this number is 7506, but this is not the correct number. This because here we're assuming all those inventory in that 19 months will be used. That's not the case. If you remember from earlier, that 3,149 units, they're not really being used completely. So let me prove to you why that's not the case. So in the 8 month, how many will we ship? We'll use the 8 month times the monthly forecast, which is 350. So in the 8 month, we will ship out 2,800 units. And we have 3,149 units will be short dated by the end of this month. But by the end of this month, we'll only need 2,800. So we're going to have this 3,149 minus 2,800. We'll have 349 units to be left. And those other inventory will be short dated. You cannot use that anymore. That means when we did this formula over here, let me go further down. Yeah, this one over here. We look at all those available inventory to compare to how many units will be shipped. But although inventory, not all of those are being used because some of those are short dated. So we have to take all the available inventory to subtract how many units are short dated, and then compare to how many will be shipped. Now, fortunately, we do know so far how many are being short dated, because our formula in the previous week over here would show us how many units to be short dated. Like this month 8, we have already calculated. We have 349 units will be short dated. So that means out of all the inventory, 349 is not being used to fulfill the shipment. So our formula over here, after sum up all those available inventory, we have subtract the amount to be short dated. So I will do another function over here to subtract another sum function. I need to sum. So now we are in 19. when you sum all the short date amount in the previous month from month 18 all the way to 1. So let me select this range from month 1 all the way to the month 18. And then colon bracket. So for in this case, within that 18 month, we'll only have this one single month, which is that 349 to be short dated. So that's one we are subtracting. And now if I enter, we'll get 7157, which is the correct amount. Now, before I can copy the formula to the other month, I have to make sure the formula reference is correct. Because when we sum all those available inventory from first month to the current month, which is 19 month, that means when I copy the formula to other month, I want that beginning cell start from that first month, but ending cell to keep changing. So I need to make this S to be log. So we're always starting from the column S. And for the second block over here, we need to start from column AT. We can log this AT, column AT, this way. We're always starting from month 1. But actually, we are going to still have problems. But for now, let's just deal with for now. We're going to address that problem later. So enter. Now I'm going to copy the formula from month 1 all the way to month 24. And we are going to have problems. The problem is there are circular reference. Circular reference means you have a formula where the input is the formula cell itself. So let's look at what happened. The issue is with that month 1. Like when I'm in month 3, when I sum the previous month of short date amount, we're using AT12 to AU12, that's all fine. But when I go to this month 1, I will use that AS12 to AT12. AT12 is what my formula is. You cannot use your own cell as input to generate output. That's why we have this circular reference. So that means when we do that formula, in order for one formula applied to every month, we need to make that beginning cell. So that second block over here, the second sum function over here, we don't want to start from that first month. We want that to start from actually this one column before first month. This way, when I copy that formula to month 1, I'm using this column AS over here to calculate. So that will not have any circular reference problem. And when leaving this column as a blank, so that will not affect the sum of that range. So now let me change that from AT to AS. So this should be AS. And enter. I'm going to copy the formula to this entire range. Now you will see I don't have any circular reference problem because I'm summing this one cell on my left side. And when I come back to over here to the month 19, I'm getting 7157, which is the correct result. So we're using all those weeks of available inventory, but then subtract the number of units to be short dated, then compare to how many we would ship. This way, when you have more than 1 month with the inventory to be short dated, the formula will be all fine. Now let's look at if this formula will be working for the next row, for this row over here, because the issue is a little bit different, because here we're having that initial inventory amount over here, which will be not enough. Like this one will have something to be left over, this one will not have enough. So let's copy that formula down to here. So remember, the correct result should be 3909. If I copy paste over here, that still give me 3909. That's still correct. So this formula is all fine, because even though you may have inventory that's not enough during that time. So I think this number, month 12, that 3,826 is actually not enough to ship to the customer in those 12 months. Actually, let me calculate this one over here. So in that month number 12, we have 3,826 units will be short dated. How much would we ship? That will be this 12 month times the monthly shipment, which will be 350. That will be 4,200 units. So that means we're actually shy from inventory minus this what we need to ship. We're shy of 374 units. That means during that month, we are going to use not only that amount, we're also going to use the inventory that will be short dated in the month 20. We'll use some of those inventory. Now with our formula, that formula is all fine for this because we're using all the inventory, so that includes that 3,826 and also this 7,083. We look at all the inventory, and then we say minus the short date amount. Since in this case we used up all those inventory, we don't really have anything in here 12 to be short dated. So we're not subtracting anything. We use that total inventory amount compared to how much we're going to ship. So that will tell you if we have anything left over. In this case, we do. We'll have this 3,909 units to be left over, which will be short dated. So you see, regardless if that first month inventory are too much or too little, this formula does cover both. So I can then change the formula for all the rest of those. Here we have the correct formula. I just copy this formula in that row, paste down for the rest of those. So they will all give us the correct amount. Just to double check, here is 3,909, which is the correct amount. So that's how I help Jennifer to automate this process. She does not need to change the formula here manually every time. She doesn't need to check if she needs to make any manual adjustment, because whatever scenario you have, this formula would handle all those scenarios. I mentioned earlier that for Jennifer, her ultimate objective trying to get those two columns. So this is just to sum all the shorted amount in the first 12 months, and this is to sum all the shorted amount from 30 months and beyond. So is it necessary to have those two blocks over 24 months to do this calculation? Can we get those two columns of results over here without doing the two blocks? Actually, it can be done without doing two blocks. So that's something I'm going to show you in the next video. I hope that's helpful for you. I hope you have learned something. If you have any question in watching this video, have any concern or even bad idea, I encourage you to comment below this video, to share with me and to share with all the other people who are watching this video. And if you have any Excel challenge at work, definitely I would encourage you to contact me using the link in the description provided below this video. I will try my best to help you within the available time I have. Thank you.